Nice to
You.
see all of you.
Doing well, doing well. Just checking to make sure everything is connecting as it should.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks like it's working.
Oh, are
Mhm.
you seeing that on your end?
Yeah, I did a refresh and it's
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
fancy.
there we go. Perfect.
and then I heard my voice, so I was like, all right, good enough.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, we're here to talk about part one of season five of Stranger Things. So, Eric,
Mm,
without further ado, do you want to kick us off?
Eric,
sure.
can I just say
Hmm.
that is a dangerous shirt to be wearing in these
Listen,
times.
Yeah.
I'm actually, based on the events of the first part of season five, I'm the only one of the original members to still have a shirt that's unripped. So you got to keep it.
Well, we
This
can
is a.
change that on this
Please don't
episode
beat
if
me
you
up.
A
Please
true
don't bully me.
commodity.
if you want to do your best Hulk Hogan
Oh
impersonation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, no, this I got this last month at Target. Actually, I
Ooh.
found it. It looks like it's been screen printed the same way. Like it just looks very authentic. So very happy with it. All right, tell me all about your latest obsession. We play the music.
No.
Uh, I'm alone in loving our theme song, but we'll fix it in post. Okay. Welcome everyone to What the Hype. Please make sure your decibels are set between 60 and 90 dB to begin our crawl into season 5 part 1 of Stranger Things. It's finally here. I am Eric, and joining me this week Laura, Micah, and Pam are back. We've all seen season 5 now. We're all caught up.
Yep.
Yeah,
We all know how we spend our Thanksgivings
right. Not with family, but with Netflix.
with our true family. Yeah.
As God
That's right.
intended.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's something to be said for the tapered releases, but when they dominate not only our Thanksgiving, but also our Christmas and our New Year's, which are like the next blocks of releases of episodes, I don't know if I'm mad about it, but I'm not sure if I'm mad
Yeah.
about it.
Maybe it caused less fights around the kitchen table,
Ah, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanksgiving is the time of family feuds. So
Perhaps.
maybe
Did
everybody was
y'all?
too busy watching Stranger Things season 5 part 1.
Yeah, did y'all hear Netflix crashed?
Oh.
No, that's
Yeah.
crazy though. You would think that by this point they would have been ready for that. Like that's an oversight, a huge one.
Yeah.
It was
I don't
what, in
think
the
it
first
lasted
few
long.
minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I remember that used to happen all the time with like HBO Max during Game of Thrones, or HBO Now, I want to say it was called, or HBO Go. There were so many.
One of
One
them
of the
was.
various iterations.
That was always
Yeah.
crashing. Even Netflix during the Black Mirror interactive episode, I think, had an issue.
I think
Um,
you're right.
That's
yeah.
right.
but haven't really heard about it happening since. So that just shows that demand and interest is up for today's topic. We are going to be talking about and beware of spoilers for the first part of season 5. Now that we have seen it, please see our previous episodes where we recapped seasons 1 and 2 and seasons 3 and 4 separately of the show. And we're kind of looking forward to this. Now that it's out, my biggest question for you all, are we digging it or are we not digging it?
Well, there was some digging in part one.
Yeah.
Well, but how are we? How is this comparing to our expectations for what the season would go?
I think it's going well so far. I'm enjoying the pacing. I think that I was most concerned about the addition of newer faces because that is always like an issue. It seems like that new characters get introduced in the midnight hour of a series when what you really want is to make sure that the characters that you've been following for the majority of the series are getting ample time for their stories to get wrapped up. So I was a little bit concerned that they were in the promos at least really kind of making sure that we were aware that, you know, Holly Wheeler was going to be a main character, that this new kid, Derek, was going to be a main character.
Delightful,
But I
Derek.
do kind of feel like it hasn't taken away from the storyline of the main character so far. So that was a huge relief.
I agree with
Do they
Pam,
have bigger
that's-
roles to play? Yes, but it doesn't feel like it's taking so much as just adding a new layer.
Agreed.
I'll be honest, I am struggling with it a little bit so far, more so just because it feels like there is so much going on that they're trying to accomplish in relatively little screen time compared to the number of arcs they're trying to close. And I'm not sure that the best use of time has been made. I have some thoughts about the time jump, or
Ooh.
rather, like the lack thereof of time jump, really. But we'll get into those a little bit later. I still think there's a lot to like about it. Definitely some really satisfying character payoff moments that we get in the first half of the season here. And I know we're going to dig more into those a little bit later, but I will say I find myself feeling a little bit uncertain about how they're going to stick the landing. It doesn't mean that they're not going to, but I have to say I'm not like the most gung ho about part one. Compared to some other reviews I've seen from people online, I feel like I'm kind of in the minority here.
I saw a pretty savage review. I think it was from Variety. That was calling. I think they said it was playing the hits or something. I don't know. I find that I'm liking the new season more than I thought I would, which is always a good feeling. Like if
Good.
you have deliberately like not low expectations, but I was just like, man, there's so much, and then there's a time jump. Does that really make sense? And then all of the actors I think are still trying to fit into their old young wigs, a little bit, and it's kind of hard to sell. But if you set aside things that can't be really fixed, like the fact that the show takes place now, we know over 4 years total, and it's been 9 years since the first season was first released, so 10 years since it was filmed. If you set aside the things you can't control and look at just what this season is offering, I think Pam mentioned the pace is working for me. Keeping in mind too that each episode is longer than an hour and has apparently a lot of flexibility as far as that goes. It can be a 90-minute episode. I think most of the episodes of last season were like almost 90 minutes. So keeping all that in mind, I'm liking that the show still feels like it's going somewhere we don't expect, while at the same time coming back in a big way to, I guess, shedding more light on things that have already happened. Just within these 4 episodes, they really withheld Vecna for a bit until that. I mean, he was always in the background doing things, but like it wasn't until episode 4 we get to see what he properly looks like now. He's taken a leaf out of Groot's book a little bit,
Yep.
but he's very tree-like now. But yeah, I'm just happy with it overall. I do want to talk about
I agree.
kind of what was the most unexpected shift we've seen so far in the season.
Well, just my thoughts briefly on
Yes.
whether or not I dug it. I just thought it was great to be back in Hawkins,
Yeah.
or the Upside Down, depending on what your preference is. But I don't really have anything overly critical on the first 4 episodes. I did like the point you just raised, Eric, about how really the first part of the season was bookended with Vecna, because we get him in that opening scene with Will, and then we get him in the closing scene with Will. And I did like how they kind of kept him under wraps for the most part. He was, as you said, lurking in the background, sometimes as his human form,
Yeah.
which I thought was really well done. I actually liked, there were moments when I was watching, and I know we'll talk more about this as well, where I would say to myself, this is very It like,
Yes.
or this is very
yeah.
Harry Potter like.
Big on the
Yes.
Potter. Big on the that could count
There's
as
a
a big
lot of Potter in
that could count as a big
these
unexpected
episodes.
kind of thing. It's funny because we know there's like a limit of number of stories that can be told, but like I feel like maybe the Duffer Brothers waited until this season to like really show some of the more overt connections. Like we've known that Will has had some insight into like the Mind Flayer and stuff, but like it's not until this season where not only is he looking through the eyes of Vecna or something that Vecna happens to be possessing or controlling at the moment, but it's also based on proximity to Vecna as well. And so that sort of reveal felt straight up, you know, very Potter-esque and was not something that the previous seasons even toyed with. And I don't think it cheapens it, but it's fun to like make those connections, I guess, because does every story with like a big bad and a child with powers have to incorporate like a checklist of these sorts of connections and items is a fun question to ask in popular media.
Yeah, and I will say, Alyssa, who is listening with us live here on
Hi,
YouTube, also said I've seen a lot of people mentioning Potter parallels. I think I also saw Noah Schnapp, who plays Will Byers, making some similar connections. So yeah, the parallels here are clear for sure. But there's also still plenty of 80s lore that is woven throughout this series too. And
Boppers
I'm sure.
or poppers?
Yeah.
Peanut butter boppers?
The
Well,
flux
movies in
capacitor
general,
is
'cause-
out.
Oh,
Yeah.
the flux capacitor.
I was gonna say, like, just in general, like Vecna 2 is just very Nightmare on Elm Street coded. I know that even as somebody who has never seen Nightmare on Elm Street.
No, it's
you know,
true.
so yeah, I think that the Duffers have made no secret of being like pop culture sponges and pulling from different franchises and entities that they probably grew up being inspired by as well. So in a way it does not surprise me, but I think that like I think it's weird to see something taken from something that's more a little bit more current than something from the 80s. So I think that's why the Potter connections are kind of tripping people out as well.
Yeah, and it's not like anybody in the show breaks character and it's like, this is like what happened in Harry Potter.
No,
'cause, like, that
no,
book hasn't
yeah.
been written yet. But anyone, I think the other reason that there's so many comparisons online that people are seeing to Harry Potter is because that's also the book series that most of us read. Like there
Yeah,
are probably like I would be curious how many of the four of us have actually read A Wrinkle in Time.
Very long time
I have
ago.
read A Wrinkle. Yeah, a
I
long
have
time
But
ago.
like
too, but I don't
years
remember
ago, right?
any
Like
of it.
so, there's probably some deliberate connections to that book, which is featured in the show.
Yeah, as soon
100%.
as they were talking about like you know like the Mr. Who's It, I was like, wait a minute, like
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and
so-
I wonder what the
some-
sales for that book look like right now.
Well, it's going to have the
Probably
Kate Bush
high.
treatment, where Madeline Lango is going to be at the next Olympic Games. Actually,
But
I think she
Eric, the thing
probably
I was
has.
most surprised about, or I feel was unexpected in this part of the season, is I didn't know Demogorgons don't like wine.
I don't think Demogorgons have a problem with wine. Maybe they prefer white.
Oh, that's true.
But yeah, it
Boring.
seems like
Do
something.
do they seem stronger like and harder to kill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
That
But they
was, like,
look
the weirdest
awesome,
part. Like I
by
guess
the
that
way.
makes sense because if Vecna is growing stronger, or if he has grown like become stronger, then so would his minions. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's a good question and a fair point, because if you look back at like the villain of season one, it was one Demogorgon, pretty much, and there's I think two things are happening. One, yes, they're stronger, because the way that they even take like a shotgun blast is far they're far more resilient now. But I think the other aspect is the show isn't holding back in showing kind of their full strength and force and speed, both because the budget has improved since season one, but also because in season one, when you didn't know them that well, they're scarier when you show less. But like for instance, here's another thing. I was like, oh, Demogorgons can open portals wherever they want at any time. We see them just need to get through a door, portal. Need to get into a house, portal. But they actually did that in season one. It just wasn't, you weren't showing them running and leaping and doing the kind of acrobatic through portals that they are shown to do now. So plus with whatever Vecna did at the end of season four really opened Hawkins up to that level of assault.
That's what I was going to say. I felt like the increase in the Demogorgons being able to do that with such ease had to be directly tied to what happened at the end of season 4, right? The portal has been opened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so getting a little bit more insight into that. And the other thing that's greatly improved is people's ability to deal with them. I mean, not to get too far ahead, but the rigging of the Wheeler house as a huge trap for a Demogorgon,
That
like
was fun.
that should have
was
ended
really
that.
fun.
That should have ended that guy. In any previous season, the
Yeah,
Demogorgon would have.
that was a really nice throwback to the type of like scrappy ingenuity that the kids had in season 1. Like the particle board with the nails through it.
It's
and
very
everything that
Kevin
was rigged.
McAllister.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Which I love. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we get on to kind of discussing the big sort of specific moments or event moments of this season, I did want to talk about, because we touched on Holly Wheeler as a main character. What I like about a final season is that it does try to keep some semblance of like a news story getting kicked off before totally reverting to playing the hits with characters we're familiar with, but that doesn't always work. There's some risk involved. And apart from, I think Holly's a lot older than I would have expected for the time difference in the episode, Holly as a main character, and the reason that Holly and Derek are kind of really brought forward in this season appears to be because they're going to be Vecna's next victims. So ultimately it does kind of tie back to the overall arcing plot. But I guess the focus on Holly, at first I was like, what, the show, where is it going? And now it kind of makes sense, and I like her as a character.
Yeah,
I
I
think
do
that they
too.
tried to. I think I bought it more when I was watching some of these like press tour interviews, and they were talking about how they've made a contentious effort to make sure that in every season she has seen something and not been believed by her parents for
Oh my
seeing. And
God.
so like it's usually just like a blink and you'll miss it moment, like like in the in season 3, which I know we all really loved, she sees like the trees rustling and they're like, what are you talking about, when they're up in the Ferris wheel.
Oh
And she
my
also sees like what appears to be like a demigorgon trying to rip through from the upside down in season 1. And so I think that like that made me feel a little bit better about it, because it seems like it was the plan all along. I love foresight in storytelling, and especially in something that has taken so long to build up to the finale. So that definitely made me feel a little bit more at ease with the idea of just bringing her in, instead of just thinking like, oh, well, like, like we had like such good luck incorporating Priya Ferguson as, the little sister. Like, let's bring in another little sister, because that would be fun. It just feels like she serves more of a purpose that way, because they have been dropping these little hints that she at least is more susceptible to seeing things that adults don't see until it's right in front of their faces and they can't ignore it.
Totally. And I know we want to chat a little bit more about Holly Wheeler in a moment, but we do need to take a quick break for an ad here. So y'all will be back in just a moment to chat about Holly Wheeler. And if you're listening with us on the live stream, no ad in the live stream. That's just for the audio version.
That's a gift to you. That's
Yeah.
from us to you. And thank you for being here, by the way, on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Did really like, though, what you were saying about, if we take it back to season 1, we had the disappearance of Will. The start of season 5, we have the disappearance of Holly. Both aren't overly believed by most people. And I would say now, with presumably where this is going, both have significant meaning to Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I thought that
think-
scene between Mike and Holly, when he gives her the little figurine,
Yeah.
was really well done.
Yeah. Holly the heroic. I remember seeing that and being like, oh God, like they're setting her up as a red shirt.
I thought they were setting her up as like a prodigy, as like a, she's going to be able to open portals or something.
Well, and maybe that'll be where it takes her. I'm not sure. But Eric, you had asked about Mr. What's It, and I think that's really relevant while we're talking about Holly.
It was a good place to start.
Yeah.
Who suspected? This is a mystery that is set up in episode 1 and solved in episode 2, as far as Mr. What's-It, who he really is. So who guessed that Mr. What's-It was Henry?
Are we raising our hands?
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
pretty obvious. I mean,
Okay.
it was cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I dug it. In fact, I think that part of the story, everything to do with Henry's backstory and the memories that the kids are trapped in and what happened to him as a child, I think that is the most interesting and compelling part of this season. Full stop. So even though I don't think this was meant to be a big surprise, it was really cool. And I was bought into it. So I don't know if anyone else feels the same.
I just like Jamie Campbell Bower dressed up. I
Yeah.
guess I saw the. I happened to. I think it's. I mean, it's to your point. It was pretty obvious, but for me, I thought I just saw like curvature of the jaw or something, and I was like, oh, that's fine. That's right there. In one of the shots, but it's interesting because we've seen. I mean, at the end of season 4, Vecna is believed to be like really closely, like to death, like nearly killed, because the kids did a number on him, and the reason they haven't heard from him in the interim, is because he's needed to go somewhere safe, heal, but then also launch a new plan. His tactics are not exactly the same as they were in the previous season, and so kind of trying to figure out what the goal is, or finding out that he's been kind of presenting as his very human self, to lull these kids into some kind of complacency,
Very
of
Pennywise.
joining him. What's that?
It's very Pennywise.
Very Pennywise, yeah, to your point. Come here, Georgie. But yeah.
Well, and while we're talking about, I think I love this comparison to it because I really do think, well, I don't think this season needed there to be like a 20-year time jump like there was in it. I do feel like it needed a larger time jump. And while we're talking about Holly Wheeler, I think this is the exact reason why. Canonically, Holly Wheeler is 7 years old.
Oh, thanks for looking that up. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, she looks closer to 13 minimum.
Yeah. So the actor playing her, Nell Fisher, who is great, I love her, but she is 14.
Yeah.
And I know that I think they've tried to do some de-aging. They clearly did some de-aging on Will for that opening scene that was like a flashback to season 1.
Yeah.
I guess we can all have opinions on what that looked like, but I'm not buying this Holly as a 7-year-old. And I think where I'm really having trouble with it is she is written as a child that young. I think she is very vulnerable and naive in a way that I would expect from a 7-year-old. But it's really hard for me to buy from a child who looks double that age. That's what I'm struggling with.
The
Quite a
problem
bit.
the problem for me is there's this like age bottleneck, right? Like we can't have Holly be written as old as Erica is because they weren't in any of each other's classes, and
Right.
Erica is like, actual 13, 14, whatever. And then we can't have that butt up against the 4 main kids who were in middle school when the show started, and now at this point have had a few years of what should be high school, but like it's
I
funny
was going to
because
say at this point had a few kids.
had a few kids. I mean, maybe the actors did or not, but yeah, it's there is that problem, Laura. I agree, of like not breaking canon, but then also maybe not giving themselves enough room. I mean, I remember reading that this season was going to take place like a year into some of between last season. And to be fair, they said they've done like 37 crawls. There's some significant time jump between the seasons, but not that big when the opening
No.
date is like 1987 and 1983, and you're like, wow, it's only been 4 years.
Right. And I think season 4 was 1986. So it's just
Yeah.
not been that big of a time jump. I do want to shout out Dan, who's also listening with us on
Hi,
YouTube,
Dan.
kind of echoing the Holly casting being an issue, saying kind of took me out of the show at times. I get it, but it could be kind of hard to watch. And Alyssa also calling out, I'm pretty sure Karen says that she's 10 to her husband when they're arguing about her seeing Mr. Whatsit in the show, which is also an oopsie because in the show, I think in season 1, they call out that she's 3. So they're kind of fudging like ages and timelines here. And, you know, I'm committed and I'm on board and I'm invested in it. So I will let that go. But I just had to call it out here because it was something that was really bothering me, especially in the first couple of episodes. I was like, this does not line up.
It's also just the way that they chose to dress her as well. And that
It's
makes
very,
it
it's
seem a
very
little
like
hokey.
we're gonna make you look like a little girl. You know?
Yeah, it's like the bright colored overalls with the patterned shirt. It's like, but then she gets into Vector Henry's world and she gets to pick her own stuff. And then if they had just put her in dresses like that, it would have like they could have made her any age, really. But I think it is the fact that like when she's still with her parents, they're dressing her as like the way you might dress like a kindergartner. That does make it look really silly. So
Well, keeping in with the Wheelers here, and the parents were mentioned in our live comments too. But the assault on the Wheeler house is probably the biggest first big moment of the show, and tying it into Potter, Karen Wheeler gets a "not my daughter, you bitch" moment, and then repeatedly stabs the Demogorgon with a broken off wine bottle. And you know what? Darn it, that's awesome. Karen is probably the parent besides Joyce who's gotten the most character development over the seasons. The parent who's gotten
Agreed.
the least character development is her husband. But both of them...
that's probably why we never find out if he lived or died. Like,
Yeah.
did he survive that attack?
Yeah, I mean...
We'll see him in the
at some point.
finale once it's all said and done.
Yeah. He's under an
Right.
induced coma. It's cool. But at the same time, both of them, I think, do a pretty bang up job of I mean, Karen especially. But it's nice to know that both parents do care about their kids. Because a lot of times in these types of series, parents are just seen as like aloof and just not kept up to date. But something that interests me, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on it, is the immediate regret expressed by like Jonathan and Nancy especially over not preparing their parents better for what was going to happen. And honestly, I think it was shown that like the Byerses are living with the Wheelers. So over the last, according to the show, it's been 6 months, but I think it's been closer to like a year and whatever. Every night they did not talk about the real threat that is bubbling up under Hawkins. Not because, like previous seasons, they believed it to be over because the gate was closed or whatever. They've known that the gate is in fact open. The military occupation of Hawkins is a huge deal. When, if ever, were they ever going to tell the Wheelers, hey, by the way, there are these creatures and they're going to come for us all?
Yeah, that was a disconnect for me, especially because I think it was like just at the tail end of last season, all of the parents know that the military is after their children. And so at that point, like it just would have been like you would have assumed that they would have looped them into something.
Yeah.
But then I guess maybe the argument against that is that you would have had like 8 Joyces running around being like, you can't do that, children. My child that I don't want to die, versus just Joyce trying to protect Will. So I think that they benefit from keeping their parents in the dark because they can go out and do all this stuff that the parents would definitely not let them do.
Yeah.
I think I was just surprised that more people didn't leave. I mean, at the end of season 4, we saw people fleeing Hawkins before the military lockdown. And even independent of their parents not knowing the truth about what was going on, it is kind of shocking to me that they were like, okay, yeah, we're being taken over by the military. Nothing to see here. We're just going to go on life as normal. I feel
Isn't the
like
town under lockdown though? That's the sense that I got because
What
Murray's
is
also
now?
smuggling shit in.
it is now, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
Like there was a
that's true. When
time when
people
they
were
could have
leaving,
Yeah, when
left
the
yeah,
emergency
and
relief crews and all that were in, and
yeah.
everyone was living in the high school gym,
that's
that was
fair.
like a
Yeah,
time for people to get out. Well, I wonder if we'll see in the next 4 episodes like more people from previous seasons that turns out they stayed. Like, I wonder if because there was some attempt to pay tribute to Eddie, I wonder if his uncle will show up again or something like that. Because there seem to be some threads that are getting hinted at.
Yeah, for sure.
Going back to the Harry Potter comparisons, this is really our first look into Will's ability, right? To tap into the hive mind, so to speak, to be experiencing something as a Demogorgon. And it reminded me a lot of Order of the Phoenix when Harry first kind of sees through the eyes of Nagini and he's attacking Arthur Weasley. And it's very similar in that now you have Will, whose best friend's family has just been attacked. Harry's best friend's family was attacked, both by a pretty nasty monster.
It's funny. When moments ago when we were talking about why didn't more people flee, I was thinking, well, Hawkins, it's not much, but it's home. uh, but thinking
And
about that,
Hawkins, Hogwarts, they both start with the letter H.
Hawkins, Hogwarts. Oh, it's the same. You guys, I have a
Hogwarts.
new fan theory. No, but yeah, it's an interesting point that basically the establishing shot, I think, of where the show opens, right, with Vecna and Will directly interacting, although Will doesn't remember it, shows that I think it really sets him up as the big bad all along, which we've known, but that really establishes like you were physically there the day that Will was first taken.
Will was
And
the Horcrux that Vecna intended to make.
Yeah.
Never stop. This is gonna be great. Yeah, so it's unclear exactly what he wants, but he presumably he wants to give the Will Byers treatment to all the kids, right? To help them, they have to get plugged into the Matrix, and which Pam has not seen, and then they have to. Sorry to call out.
Way to put her
but
on blast.
they have to get plugged in so that they can recreate reality. I guess is the overall plot. Is that Vecna talked about rebuilding the world, presumably by opening the gates last season. And now that that's done, he apparently needs 10 children because they're the most malleable. Which, okay, on the one hand, if you want to remake reality, just do it. You don't need impressionable kids who are malleable to make the world the way you want it. Just do it the way you want it. If you want children who are innocent, who remember what it's like to be carefree or know a world with love in it, then let them. But don't like subjugate them to do it. Like just tell the kids, hey, we're gonna build a new world, kids, and then they're gonna be okay. Like I don't understand where Vecna's coming from here exactly. I just know that he has a lot of like close familiarity with kids because he was in a lab with a bunch of them for a period of time before he killed them all.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have more insight into his goals?
Well, it feels cyclical. And I know I'm not the only person to make this comparison, but a lot of people online have brought up that, particularly when you think about the way the first 5 minutes of this season, what they revealed about the fact that, hey, Will has actually basically been Vecna's Horcrux the entire time, that thematically you could read subtext into this story about like cycles of childhood abduction, abuse, and assault. And clearly, I mean, we know something horrible happened to Henry. We saw what happened to him, right? But there's clearly even more to that story that we don't already know. I know we're going to talk about Max in a few minutes, but like, why is he so afraid of that cave? What happened there? So I think whatever his motivations are, they are tied to this sort of like cyclical trauma of kind of reenacting and revisiting what happened to him on these children in order to gain some kind of power and control over the world.
Yeah, I think that's well said. We mentioned Eddie a moment ago. Let's talk about Dustin's arc. So each of the characters, maybe with the absence of Lucas, I'm feeling like so far Lucas has not had a really good scene. I mean,
He's not.
he visits
No.
Max, and that's sweet, but like he hasn't had a big shining moment the way that the other characters have seemed to yet. Dustin, in particular, in the earlier episodes, is shown as basically going after the bullies, defending Eddie's honor posthumously, and kind of wanting to apparently restart the D&D club. Dustin is feeling reckless. He's got sort of this like have to do what's right no matter what energy, and all of his close friends are telling him you have to let this stuff go. You can't go picking fights. They're gonna dust you. And he doesn't listen and nearly dies for it.
Yeah, he's kind of falling flat for me so far. And I mean, I understand where he's at, right? It makes sense, but he doesn't really have his eyes on the prize right now, and he's kind of on a bit of a vengeance tour, which I feel like is set up for him to be basically diametrically opposed to Steve, because I think Steve's going to die. And I think that all of this conflict is happening in order to really drive the big feels when that happens, when Dustin has to reconcile the fact that he's spent the last however many months being pissed off at Steve and kind of like taking out his resentment over everything that happened to Eddie on his other like older male father figure or like older brother. So yeah, that's kind of where I feel like that's going.
I do
That's
agree.
my
Like,
concern as well.
Yeah.
And I think that like I don't like love this trajectory for them because Steve didn't like cause Eddie's death in any way, you know, and so it is misplaced. But then I kind of wonder if maybe it's just the principle of the fact that before Steve like did a complete 180, like he would have been like that jock that was
yeah,
you know, ragging on Eddie, beating up Dustin, you know, and so then he kind of sees like the face of his bullies and Steve, which again is like misguided and misdirected.
it's erasing the last 4
but-
years of character development. for
Exactly.
Steve.
Yeah,
And
So
all the
yeah,
wonderful
that's
scenes.
the only part that kind of makes me uncomfortable about it because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
But teenage
There's-
angst also rarely makes sense. So
Fair enough.
Right.
we kind of have to give it a pass.
There's some really great theories out there too, analyzing the posters from Stranger Things, especially when they're riding their bikes. And
Yeah.
Eddie's bike light was the only one that was on in that poster, where he's riding with some of the more adult characters. And then a more recent version shows both Dustin and Will's light being on when they're riding together. So I don't know if that's a little bit of foreboding for both of those characters. Maybe it's not Steve. Maybe it's Dustin that
Maybe.
bites the dust in this season.
it's an interesting theory. I've loved Dustin maybe the most out of the four throughout the years.
He's the real comic relief of the show, him and
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah, but he also seems to have like an awareness of to your point about this season being like a detraction is like he always could see the bigger picture. It seems like, you know, like
He's
so
super smart.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, don't know about that, but we are going to take another break for ads, and when we come back we'll be talking about all the other big moments of the first part of season 5 of Stranger Things. We'll see you in just a moment. So, let's talk about 11, who's now like 19. She has been training for the inevitable confrontation. She at least understands the full gravity, and she's helped along by Hop. I feel like for the first time, Hop and 11 are on the same page. Hop, still sort of parenting Jane or 11, doesn't really want her to have the most experience going with him on these crawls to the Upside Down to search for Vecna. He wants to hold it off until the last possible minute out of protection for her. But as usual, the plot comes and greets them, and it's time for 11 to put her skills to the test. So, what do we feel about sort of these characters in the first, like Hop and 11 specifically, in the first 4 episodes, where they eventually infiltrate the base that's in the Upside Down and figure out what's behind door number 3?
I really like the parallels that we see between Hop and 11 and Joyce and Will, because we do see this like power struggle between these kids and their parental figure, where the parent is trying to protect them, but ultimately the kid is like, yo, I have more of a connection to this shit than you do. I can do more about this than you can, so you need to listen to me. And in that regard, I actually really like getting to see Elle stand more toe to toe with Hopper and his kind of begrudging realization that he has to let her.
Yeah. If any part of this season really fell flat for me, it was this. Like, I don't like the military component of all this. It just, I understand why it's there, but I don't like finding out that there's a base now inside the Upside Down. Like, when did they have time to even build this? We were talking about the time element of all of this. I don't know. That's
Yeah,
just,
but you think it gets in the way of, like, it gives our
it gets in the
characters
way of
something
the
to-
story.
Yeah.
Really. Like, I'm more on the fantasy sci-fi side of this, less on the military inclusion piece of it. And like that, I understand they play a major role in it, and they're likely the reason this whole thing started in the first place. But I don't know. Like, I don't need to see the like Hopper and these officers shooting at each other. Like it I don't know. Am I alone here? Maybe.
No, because I rewatched a few episodes too. Like I didn't get to a full rewatch, but I just kind of felt like, to that point that you're raising, those are the kind of moments that I feel like I can just skip over because it doesn't really add too much to the plot. I think you're right in that we know that the military has ulterior motives, but the number of scenes where that really that is like feeding us vital information we need to know for the sake of the show and the plot is very slim. So it does kind of feel like a lot of it is just gratuitous action sequences to showcase that Hop needs to let go a little bit more and have like let 11 do what 11 does. I think that, like, in general, it is cool to see how much stronger she's gotten, because we did get a taste of that the tail end of last season. But this whole thing about like her battery being bigger and like being charged up, I think that like the showcase of that has been fascinating, especially when you set that up against season 1, where she could barely do one big thing before she collapsed. Yeah, so but yeah, I'm with you there about the military stuff in general.
Yeah, I go back and forth because I look back on previous seasons, and there were always these sort of big military set pieces after they started getting a budget, like season 3 onward. But like the whole thing with the Russians underneath the mall, tons of action happened down there. The entire thing with in Russia with all of the Russian in the prison that Hop was, like, all of that had to have some kind of a payoff eventually. So like the story they're telling does involve the world, not just Hawkins. And so I feel like the military being these outsiders coming into this town to like do whatever they need to do, and the fact that there's a doctor, well, I don't say a doctor, commander, military personnel played by Linda Hamilton, who I adore from the Terminator, of course, really showing up and seeming to know a lot about how these creatures work, gives me hope that that's going to pay off somehow specifically. Because not only has the military been studying, dissecting, dealing with the creatures to come out of the Upside Down, they also have figured out how to inhibit somebody like 11, although not exclusively 11's, telepathic, telekinetic powers.
Right.
So
But
I don't know
11's
how
not
they...
the problem.
11's not, yeah. So it's interesting, but I find that's just good storytelling where they have, characters focused in the complete opposite direction for most of the season, and then at the end they got to quick turn it around, make a Yui. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved seeing Linda Hamilton, but honestly, I feel like they could have done more with her than they did.
Hope she's not dead yet, right? Like,
I don't know.
Hawk just kind of knocked her out.
Yeah.
she'll be...
I mean, I hope that we get more with her.
I mean, that's a casting where you're like, I know why she was cast in the show.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's
for
just-
sure.
But it's good to see an actor like that who you rarely see, and like you don't see her as much as like you want to. I think in things to get to see her say yes to that. I mentioned earlier, but the prisoner behind door number 3, somebody I thought I would never see on this show again, but apparently there were plans. Let's assume if they can do that thing with Holly Wheeler where every season she sees something and nobody believes her, then they can make an intention behind, is it 8? Is 11's sister, who is back. And you know what? What are we thinking? What are our thoughts on just that stunning revelation?
That to me was a surprise reveal. I was not expecting that one. I honestly I really thought they were just trying to backdoor pilot us with that one episode where she's in, what is it, Philadelphia? And
Chicago.
Since when it when it didn't work, they were just like, well, just kidding. We actually just didn't mean to do anything with this. But I really thought it was like a backdoor pilot ploy. So
I kind of think it was, and I think when it wasn't received well, they just never touched it again. But I am really glad actually that they did give us this full circle moment, because it would have been lazy, honestly, to just pretend like it never happened, because of course the military would be out looking for other superpowered individuals like 11. So of course they would be trying to track her down. I feel like it would have been a miss if they had just never picked up that thread again. So I'm actually glad that they made that inclusion, because it would have been a pretty big plot hole.
Yeah, like where's 8 throughout all of this is like a big question. No, it all comes back to all the people that sprung from Hawkins' lab, whatever was done to these kids. I mean, including Henry, was there at a point as one. So I love it. Actually, I love the reveal, and also thinking about, remember what 8 can do. 8 can implant visions and make people think they see things that they don't. Why would that be particularly of use in the final season during these moments when we're waiting between the normal world, Upside Down, the dream world, the memory world that's like inside, wherever Max is living right now? Like, there's a lot of, I guess, nuance. What else do I want to say? The fact that 11 at the end of the last season could go, she realized during the mall season, she realized she can go into people's memories, right? So she does that with Max's brother. And like, I don't know, there's something different between going between dimensions, as she always has done, and going specifically into people's memories. Now we have one of our characters who's paralyzed and blind in the real world, but in memory is her full self and getting aged. Like Max is trapped there in someone's memory. The fact that we now bring in number 8, who can create illusions that people feel is real, there's gonna be some kind of big epic confrontation here with 8.
This gives me
and that's an easy way to just kind of like throw Vecna off the scent, because his whole power is being able to see into people's minds. So if they can circumvent what he's actually seeing and make him believe that he's seeing something else, then that frees up space for them to it's like circumvent his all-seeingness.
It's basically like what Voldemort does to Harry with Sirius.
Planting a fake memory.
Planting a false memory.
But it's going the other direction. this time, presumably, right? So
Yeah, we
Yeah.
haven't seen.
Man, if nobody asks the Duffers about all these parallels, then they're not
you
doing
guys
a good
copying
job.
Harry Potter? No.
no,
Yeah. I think that will be where this goes because we do see one of the memories that Max goes into in Henry's mind palace is 1959 when he's like in high school and we see a young Joyce Byers. This is also the connection. I know we briefly talked about the Stranger Things play when we did our kind of like
Oh,
seasons 1 through 4 review and recap. And personally, I haven't seen the play. I have watched a couple of like breakdowns and recaps on YouTube just to kind of get some semblance of like what the play was about. Essentially, it's kind of like more info about Henry's origin story and like the Creel family and what happens to them and like why things play out for Henry the way they do. So it would not surprise me if 8 is used to like infiltrate Henry's memories and change his interpretation of the past or his interpretation of memories that he has. Like she might go in there and kind of tinker with what he believes to be true, or at the very least, confuse him about what has come to pass. I can definitely see that being something that happens.
yeah.
I
One,
also wanted to bring up really quick because like the one thing that like the first thing I thought of when Max was talking about going into the past, basically, obviously we know she's in his memory, so it makes sense. But there's that whole scene too where Erica's in class and they're talking about wormholes, and I'm wondering like how much you all think that's gonna like play into things.
I was gonna
If
ask
they're already
y'all.
setting that up, yeah, and it's like, is this a red herring or is it not? Like, I could see it being one, like, I could see it being that, and I could see it actually being, you know,
I
a
just
legitimate.
enjoy
like,
Erica, so that was
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I
was
enjoyed a
great.
science teacher. Getting to see him again was great.
yeah. Just one other thing I wanted to mention here about 8 specifically, and I know this is a popular fan theory that has been on the internet now, I think, for quite some time, probably since the end of season 4. It's the 20 theory. It's when you roll 20 in Dungeons and Dragons, the game is over.
Yep.
And if you add 11 and 8 and 1, that gets you to 20.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, who is 1? Is it Vecna? Is it Henry? Or is it Will now?
It's a
Because
good- I
Will
mean,
was his first.
yeah. It well, and they have been saying like Mike's been telling Will that he is Vecna. So like if he is a version of Vecna, then even without being his first victim, he is still one.
Yeah.
Something to look up.
Ooh.
'Cause he has the same powers.
Alyssa in the comments is saying, seeing people compare the drawing of the wormhole in class versus what Will drew on the barn door. They do look similar.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a. I love this because it does. Pam, you were raising the same question I had, which is like, are we literally looking at literal time travel? Are we to expect that we're going to see literal time travel in the second half of the season? Which, God, I hope not. I'm so tired of time travel. But if we're looking at it more metaphorically in terms of like playing with time insofar as like memories are concerned,
I don't like
that's
time
very
travel,
compelling.
Seeker's Child.
Yeah, I just, time travel is really hard to pull off, y'all. It very rarely works out well, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Because the thing is too is like it does feel like a Deus Ex Machina, and I think
Yeah.
that's why like sometimes there's it feels like there's no payoff because it's a blank slate. It's the potential
It's a
for a blank
crutch,
slate
too. It can be
Yeah.
used or overused.
But sometimes it's really cool. Like I actually very much enjoyed the time travel element in like Avengers Endgame, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
could go either way.
So a couple of things I do want to mention before we bring our discussion to a close so far. Queer representation. Will Byers, who has been, I think it's safe to assume that he feels a certain way about Mike, has been unable to express his feelings to Mike in previous seasons. Now should come across Robin and her flame in a very intimate moment, kind of kissing, touching closely, intimately at the hospital. Who, by the way, I find everything with Robin in this season is perfect and warrants no further discussion because she's amazing. But Will seeing this and kind of Robin's subsequent encouragement to, or I guess comfort of Will saying, "I just be myself. I used to not like it, but being myself is all I have," gives him encouragement to move along his journey. And we see it work. We see him be more confident, able to finally stand up for himself to Joyce, which is, that's a long time coming. He should have done that in season 2. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting seeing Will react to finding there's another gay character in Hawkins.
Yeah, I think what I really love about this, like aside from obviously her like giving him the space to feel comfortable to be who he is the fact that she also like Will gets so infantilized over the course of the entire series, and Robin, I think, not having the same history with him as the rest of them, doesn't feel the need to do that. And I think that's what that allows the freedom for her to incite confidence in him and to go forth with a plan that she realizes is a good one. You know, she doesn't worry about the fact that, you know, he's Will, the kid that got kidnapped and now like suffers random seizures as a result of being connected to Vecna. She's like, oh, like what if we do this? You know, and so I think that he needed somebody like that, because for as much as his friends love him and his family loves him, they do hold him back a lot.
Yeah.
And it allows that fear to linger, because all he sees is that they're scared for him too. So
Let's
Not to make another Harry Potter reference, but if we're to go to that final scene, right? It's very much reminiscent of Order of the Phoenix when Voldemort, you know, gets inside of Harry's mind and he starts to play those happy memories, because Will has very much that same experience, and it's almost in a way similar to the casting of a Patronus when, you know, he sees the danger, particularly that Mike is in. You know, you can say also Lucas and Robin, but it's really Mike,
Yeah.
I think, that triggers this reaction within him that he's going to do everything in his power to save his life. And, you know, that I think, you know, you can draw parallels also back to the Potter series there.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
love is conquering, is allowing
Yep.
him to take control, his love for his friends.
yeah, well, even in the sense of like you know, in what is it in Deathly Hallows too, Hermione finally says, you know, like, do it, Harry, like tap in. And it's the same thing that basically Robin encourages Will to do is don't be afraid, just tap in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. What I just have to say I love about this is an amazing example of intentional representation that very much is woven into the story. Something that is really frustrating with queer representation, that can be really frustrating, is it oftentimes it can feel like an afterthought and like something that gets thrown in later. They've been setting this up since season 1,
Yep.
because even as a little kid, Will felt like an outsider. Kids outside of the group were referring to him with all kinds of like homophobic slurs. There were lots of rumors around him, you know, and why he had gone missing, and a lot of implications about his sexuality, even as a young child. And even as he's growing up and all of his friends are starting to get girlfriends, he and Mike have that falling out. I think it's in season 3 when Mike's like, hey, it's not my fault you don't like girls, okay?
Yeah.
So they've definitely been leaving breadcrumbs for this all the way for this moment of payoff where where Will gets to say, you know what, this is who I am. And that's really his power. That's when he's able to unlock it and say, you know what, I have all of these happy memories and I know who I am now. And I'm able to use that to literally take control of the hive mind and stop these demogorgons in their tracks.
You know
I
what
thought
concerns me?
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
What concerns me is how he stops the Demogorgons from doing what they're doing by breaking their arms and legs and doing exactly what Vecna did to the other kids.
Yeah, he pulls a Vecna. That's for sure.
It's a bit much,
I mean, it.
you know.
Well, I think it also raises the question. I mean, I think we all hope that Will is on like an anti-Vecna arc, but we also know that he's part of the hive mind. Vecna has possessed him. He's been possessed by the Mind Flayer. Is there going to be conflict in part 2 where maybe Will has his own Vecna arc that isn't a good thing? I know that's been a question I've seen.
Got to extract the
online.
Horcrux.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's turning him rotten.
Yeah. I also do want to point out a quick shout out to Millie on YouTube who asked, do we think that Will and Mike are going to get together? Because I think it's very clear to Will how Will feels about Mike. And I know there's been a lot of fan speculation over the years about whether or not this is going to happen. Does anyone have strong feelings?
I actually
about
thought this
that?
was an interview with Millie Bobby Brown on YouTube where she was asked the question.
Millie's curious. Yeah. I have a strong inclination that it's not going to happen.
Same.
And have for a while. I like the character of Will Byers. I like the character of Mike Wheeler. I don't see Mike as gay or having any romantic feelings for Will. I think there's too often in shipping circles, there's a desire to take what is a sort of healthy, boundaried, respectful, platonic male relationship and kind of bend the lines a bit. But Mike has got to have his happily ever after with Eleven, who he's still actively interested in and shown to be so on the show multiple times. If Eleven dies this season, there's still not enough time for him to get over her to then maybe
Right.
look to Will's. I don't think it's in the cards. I think it's less in the cards now than it was seasons ago when it could have gone that way.
I kind of got the impression based on kind of the final interaction that Will and Mike have before the big climax, where Will definitely, I think he kind of like gives Mike a playful smack, and you can tell that Will is feeling it, but Mike doesn't really pick up on it, and he just like bounds away. But you see this, I felt like I saw this moment of acceptance for
Yeah.
Will, where it was like, you know what, that's okay. It's okay
Yeah.
that he doesn't feel the same about
Well,
me.
because you can be a tragic figure and think, oh, my love for my friends is unrequited or something, and you can go and sob, or you can like begin to accept the world you have, where like there will be somebody for Will Byers, it just isn't his long-term best friend. But the path forward is to be himself, put himself out there, and be courageous about it. If he survives all of this stuff that's happening with his friends and his hometown. We didn't even talk about Max yet, really. Not really. How happy were we to see that she's alive in some form and perfectly well in some form? She's going to be the character who comes back with like the hammer and the exact way to solve what they've got to solve. But she spent like a year in this like wonderland, essentially, of Vecna's Henry's mind. Kind of pretty cool though that she has a direct ability to mentor and shape Holly, who is played up as like being this, you know, the focal point of this season.
Yeah, I was so excited when I saw the Max reveal at the end. Was it the end of episode 2? or 3?
3.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3.
That was definitely, I would say, my first like whoa moment this
Yeah.
season was like, there she is, because so far I was like, damn, they're paying Sadie Sink a lot of money to just be unconscious in a
To
bed.
lie there.
So it was really good to see her. But again, I think this is the whole concept of Henry's, I'm just thinking of it in like Sherlock terms, the whole concept of his mind palace is the most compelling to me this season. I'm really, really excited to learn more about what's going on here. And to see Max in this capacity makes a lot of sense to me, because she's already been here before, right? He
Right.
almost took her before. So
Yeah. They're linked.
That damn cassette tape.
Yeah, well, that's a saving grace, but yeah, I think Vecna unintentionally created an unintentional Horcrux in Max there.
Oh, okay.
I love the look of her too. Like she looks like she's been lost in the woods.
yeah.
You know,
There aren't any
for
hairdressers.
years.
In
Yeah.
the
No,
woods,
but
you know.
I'm into it. Like even like you can tell that she's like patched up her own jeans, you know, a dozen times over, and yeah.
I'm curious.
But I also like Laura, you know, going back to what I think you mentioned this at the kind of towards the top of the show, just the so fascinated by the fact that she's hiding in this rock formation that he won't go in for whatever reason, and I'm sure
See,
she's
it's
going to be
crazy
the
see
key to
him terrified
figuring
of it,
out
too.
why he's terrified to go in there.
Yeah. I was curious also, why did he not want Holly to go into the woods? Did he not want her to meet up with Max? And if so,
I'm-
why?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Like, did
sure.
he know that Max
Yeah.
is around there somewhere? Will he
He
be
knows.
very
Yeah,
surprised? Yeah.
he does.
Oh, he
yeah.
chased her in there, didn't he?
And clearly
Yeah.
does not trust the fact that, like, even though Holly trusts him now, that she can't be swayed in the opposite direction. But I think he is afraid of that.
Yeah, for sure. And, speaking of that rock formation, we didn't talk about the upside down version of the wall.
The wall.
Oh,
Which again,
yeah.
is this from Game of Thrones? Like, are we merging
Yeah.
all these different worlds together?
Well, and
Yeah.
it's
In
a
all the
circular.
franchises. Yeah.
It's a circular wall, and the upside down lab is in the middle of it, right?
Is it in the middle?
Yeah.
Dustin
That's what they
figures
said.
that out.
Oh, the Hawkins lab. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The other aspect, I assume it's where the hive is, where the place where the children are going to be taken, so where they can be like plugged in and create the new world, has to be in there.
Yeah.
That would make sense because that's where they were housing children anyway.
Oh,
So it would make sense that he would bring them back to where it all started.
This is gonna come back to the lab in a big way, like come back to like where it all started, like the 12 children, Hawkins lab,
Yeah.
trying to unlock their powers.
And a good full circle moment for 11 too, because she obviously, like, similarly to how, Vecna is afraid of these rock formations. I think that the lab is still a place that she kind of probably fears a little bit.
Yeah.
She worked so hard to escape, and she has awful memories of being trapped in there. So
We don't have an answer as far as how 8 escaped either. 8 managed to
Right.
get away. There have been no significant scenes between young 8 and 1. I think 8 is conspicuously absent from the flashbacks that we get of Henry in season 4. So when she was able to get away will be an interesting question for this to answer. And watching 8 have some visceral reactions to being back in Hawkins' lab, presuming things are heading there, will be interesting to see. I did want to point out, Millie in our comments said, I've seen that because the wall in the upside down is a circle and there are 12 kids, Vecna has captured that he is making a clock, question mark.
Oh, I love that.
Let's not forget the
Yeah,
grandfather
that's
clock
very
chime
cool.
of the
Pocket
previous
Yes.
Yeah.
season.
I love that.
Oh, I love that. Because, yeah, I think I had seen just some theorizing online about, like, Vecna needing his 12 disciples. So
Wow.
that was how I had been thinking about it, but I had not thought about the clock connection. And that, I think I actually like that better.
Yeah.
That's really clever. Thank you for pointing that out.
For sure. So Let's just talk about looking ahead real quickly.
Oh, dipshit Derek.
Dipshit Derek, you know the
Oh.
craziest
Oh,
thing?
that's important.
Delightful
I really
Derek.
like him.
Yeah, me too.
He was
this
awesome.
this is territory that the show, I would say, excels at. You pick a character like Billy or Steve. Steve was the original
Yeah.
Billy. Billy was worse, but they all get a reformation. They all get like a, they redeem themselves. They all have a redemption arc, and we see that even the worst bullies are potentially just soft inner circle, like the soft peanut butter core of a bopper.
All it took was Joyce telling him that he was delightful, Derek, and he really believed it.
He just needed somebody to believe in him.
Yeah.
It's just accelerated to the point where I'm like, I don't even, it just like glances off me right now where I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Derek's a bully. Oh, Derek's a sweetheart. Big surprise.
What
Yeah,
I love,
he's delightful.
You know, I think that I really just love the trajectory of like he is kind of like this snot-nosed awful kid, and then I think that it is just like the belief from other people also seeing that Joyce like goes to bat for him right away, even though he thinks he's been calling her like a kidnapper.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as
Oh.
the Demogorgon's in there, she's like, absolutely not. And then like by the time they're, trying to smuggle all the other kids out, he's out there trying to barricade the door.
And he's doing guided meditation to help the plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
that
Where did he
was-
learn that?
that was funny.
Well, from his mom,
Oh,
when
yeah,
she runs out of
apparently.
Valium.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And I had seen something on social media that said the only other acting experience he had was in some kind of commercial in Chicago. That was it.
What a find.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. He's great. No, I mean, I really love this show really does excel at very quickly getting you to take a character who you might look at on the surface and be like, why are we spending time with this person, to ultimately being like, oh my God, I love this character.
Yeah.
That's how, I mean, I watched this with my parents over the holiday, and that's how we felt ultimately. By the end of it, we were like, go, Derek. Yeah, he was really great. And also just, I think the whole setup of that, of like Erica bringing the drugged
pie.
pie
Yeah.
and
Yes.
everything,
Pie
and,
and,
like drugging the family, and
That
was
whole
very
thing,
good.
like every decision they made would have given previous them a lot of pause. Every
Right.
single one, they would have spent episodes hemming and hawing over whether it's right to do something or whether they can do something, and they'd be so afraid. This time, a million different like little steps took place. Like the property damage alone, sawing a hole in the floor, breaking all that wine down in the basement. You know who else doesn't like wine? Apparently, these kids don't have any respect for it. Just to spring a trap is unbelievable.
I just
Absolutely
think
unbelievable.
they could solve all of this if they put Erica in a room with Vecna. There's no way
You're
that,
right.
that he's coming out.
I think they've been holding back, frankly.
Yeah.
The way
Yeah.
she had like no problem jumping her friend and sticking her.
Yeah.
I told you to eat your damn
Eat your damn pie.
Little sociopath.
And apparently there was a reference to this in a previous season, which I'll have to go back and get the clip from, about her doing something exactly like this. But yeah, Erica is definitely a treat for
Yeah.
sure.
I
Wine-
really hope we see more of her in the second half, because I
Yeah, we didn't
miss
get enough of
for
her.
Sure.
Yeah. We've got to. Well, I hope that the remaining 4 episodes continue to showcase all of the characters that we've come to know and love over the past 4 seasons, that we get more of the characters we love, that we get answers to some of the bigger series mysteries. It seems like they're in there. It's not like I went through these episodes thinking they're never going to be coming back around to something, are they? Like, I feel like there's an unstated promise, a goodwill that I still have after watching the first 4 episodes, that says that this season and the show's going to turn out all right. I don't think it'll do a last-minute devolution into Game of Thrones territory where everything's made up and nothing can be cared about.
Yeah. Agreed.
Wonderful. Well, the next 3 episodes of this season will air on Christmas Day, and the finale will air on New Year's Eve. So
So I guess
We'll
our
see.
holidays are spoken.
yeah,
for.
our holidays are
Right,
spoken
exactly.
for. But do pay attention. Do stay tuned to our socials for more updates on when the next episodes will be coming, and also check out all of the other episodes that we continue to make on all of our other pop culture obsessions.
One question I did want to ask before we wrapped up, though, I know we talked about on prior episodes who we thought wouldn't make it through.
Yeah.
Has that changed at all based on these first 4 episodes?
Well, your bike light theory of
It's
really,
not mine.
really
I give
That-
credit to the internets.
fair enough. But yeah, I think Dustin and Will are going to get it. Based on no other information or speculation there.
No, I'm with you on Dustin. I'm scared for Dustin. I'm scared for Steve. I feel like one or the other.
I definitely feel like either it's not going to be both of them. It'll
Right.
be like Dustin or Steve. So I think one of them is going to go. I also think Will, I think there's going to have to be some kind of sacrificial moment for him,
Yes.
because we see how connected he is to the hive mind. Like when the creatures are hurting, it also causes him immense pain. When
If
he's
they kill
hurting
the creatures, are they going
Yeah.
to kill Will? Can one can either live while the other survives? Everybody?
Well, and I
We
think
don't
that's
know.
also it's not a nice parallel, but it is a parallel for Hopper and Joyce in that they will have both experienced the loss of a child at that point.
Ooh.
And yeah, I know
That's a tough pill to swallow, but
I
yeah,
know.
that's true. Yeah.
But I also it feels like this show has a hard time killing its darlings, so maybe they'll surprise us. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the
I
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are the main 4 safe? Are the kids who played D&D in Mike's basement in episode 1 safe from elimination?
No, I think one of them, at least one's got to go, and I think it's Will.
The one who's already died and been
Yeah.
resurrected, zombie boy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put Will into the safe category.
Oh, okay.
I think actually Joyce is in a lot of danger. She's the mom, and we saw 2 parents attacked in the opening episode, and presumably both of them lived. So I don't see how all of the adults can make it through.
There's not enough parent death in this series. I've been saying it for years.
I also think Murray, at some point, is gonna go. He's the comic relief. I could see him sacrificing himself.
That would actually be an like a weirdly fitting character arc for him, because going from somebody that was very selfish and self-serving
Antisocial
to
too.
yeah, exactly, to somebody that is willing to put himself on the line to help the greater cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to go back to Will for a second, though, too, I could see a situation where he seals himself into the Upside Down.
Like 11 was trying to do.
Yeah, basically to
Yeah.
say, this is the only way to keep you all safe.
Well, and to that point, that would actually tie in to what Vecna tells them, which is that some minds don't belong in this world; they belong
Yeah.
in mine.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point.
Interesting.
Yeah. Then maybe where we take it.
We need to get the Vegas odds on all these characters.
I know.
Aren't there apps for that now?
Oh yeah.
You can bet on pretty much anything you want.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
Well, also just kind of looking ahead a little bit as we wrap up here. Next week we will be reviewing Wicked for Good, so part 2 of Wicked. So stay tuned for that, and then we will be doing our Stranger Things season 5 second half / finale reactions. That'll be coming on January 5th. So keep an eye out for both of those.
Very exciting stuff. As always, thank you guys for your time and joining us, and thank you to all of our listeners and or viewers on YouTube for being such a part of the experience for us. And with that said, I think we'll catch you all later.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. And please feel free to reach out to us on socials. We're What the Hype Podcast in most places, YouTube, Instagram, and you can also reach out to us, whatthehypepodcast@gmail.com, if you have any thoughts or feedback on today's episode. And also let us know what your season 5 part 2 theories are.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next
Thanks so
time.
much for joining.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.